Okay, it's almost 10 after, and this is the Enterprise Committee's meeting to discuss MLMP's budget, and if we can start with Amy.
Amy DeMoski.
Dick Training.
Pete Peterson.
Jennifer Johnston.
James Train.
Rick Miller.
And George Vacalis. And could I open it, if that's okay, when you're ready?
Okay, George.
Thank you.
And we also have the chair of the commission behind us, Julie.
We'd asked for this work session primarily because we're going to be asking for an appropriation action. As you'll see during the presentation, that there was significant increase in revenues that came in, and with that there was also an increase in expenses that was over and above what the budget called for in both cases. As a result of that, it will take some type of an assembly action to bring the budget in line. So we will go through, we'll identify how the revenues came to be, we'll also identify how the additional expenses came to be, and then give you what the overall situation looks like. So thank you.
Okay.
With that, I'll start on page 2, revenues. We have a $5 million increase in revenues. The biggest item is sales for resale, $3.1 million, and that's almost 99% sales to Golden Valley and Fairbanks. They really came up in the last quarter, fourth quarter of this year. The residential and commercial revenues are up $3.4 million. Most of that is due to higher fuel cost. The military, though, is down $1.8 million. When that plant, the trash to gas plant started 3 units. They brought 2 more units on last year. There's space for 1 more unit, and then that plant will be maxed out, but our sales continue to drop. And that is all to Fort Rich. Elmendorf is not getting any of that power yet. And they probably wouldn't be. The interest income is up $500,000 due to higher interest rates. And then the BAB's interest income is down $200,000. The BAB stands for Build America Bonds. We issued in 2009. They were taxable bonds, higher interest rate, but the federal government at that time said you get a 35% subsidy on the interest paid. Well, federal sequester last year, they cut that subsidy down, and the cut this year wasn't quite as much, but it's right at $200,000 reduction, and we had the full amount in the budget. So the total of those is $5 million.
Explain to me again why the residential commercial is up because of...
Higher fuel cost. Our gas transfer price, and that's the price of the fuel that we get from the Blue River gas unit, has gone up. And it's driven up the COPA, the quarterly cost of power adjustment. But the cost of the fuel we're buying has been higher this year too. Next.
Mr. Crane.
On the military, $1.8 million. You said they can only sell it to J-Bear, not the Elmendorf side, but it's all one base now. So how do they decide?
We bill both Elmendorf and Fort Rich. And
You're
the
not
Fort
building
Rich,
one entity now, you're building
no,
still
we're still doing separate contracts, separate bills to both the bases, even though it is J-Bear.
Okay.
But the Elmendorf bill hasn't gone down any. It's the
Did
Fort
this
Rich bill
increase
that's gone down.
even more? Is this hole going to get bigger?
When they add that 6th unit, yes.
I understand from what I've seen that that's a bigger unit than the other ones. It's got more capacity to produce power.
I haven't heard that.
I know that you said that, Mr. Trainee.
You might talk to
but I have not
solid
heard that. But I'll find out.
We have solid waste behind.
Well, I'm just here as a private citizen, but right now
And could you give me a name?
Sure. My name is Mark Madden. I'm when I'm on the clock, I'm the chief engineer for Solid Waste Services. To give you a little bit of background, first of all, the plant started with 4 units and not 3, and just added an additional one last year. Doyon is currently building a business case to add the 6th unit because we are actually finding more gas than we had anticipated. When that happens is unknown because it's military politics, which I've come to learn very rapidly isn't very rapid. But right now, the business case is just for another 1.4.
So another 1.4 coming in. I
That is
heard there
correct.
was a 2 point something coming in.
Genbacher, the manufacturer of the generating units, actually builds a 1.4, a 2, and actually a 2.5. But when you already have 5 units that all have all these spare parts, to bring in a sixth unit that the parts don't match, may not make good business sense to do.
Let me ask you a question. Even when we get the new plant in, the new generator in, are we still going to be firing off gas? Or are we using every possible?
I wish I could say, I wish I could say no, but so far, we've modeled the gas production 3 times, and every time we've managed to pull more gas than any model's been able to predict. So, and we've got the best minds in the country working on it. So, right now they're using about 80% of the gas that we produce. If they bring on the sixth unit, that'll take it up to about 97 or 98% of the gas that we're currently producing, but that doesn't say we won't produce more. The other limitation isn't necessarily the building, but in the infinite wisdom of the Department of Defense, Fort Richardson has a power grid here, Elmendorf has a power grid here, and there's no interconnection between the two, so they can't wheel the power from one side to the other. So basically, right now, unless they build an intertie between the 2 base grids, the maximum that we can that Fort Richardson can take is what maximum J-Bear can take is what Fort Richardson can use. In the wintertime, that's not a problem. They run about 11 megawatts is their demand. In the summertime, we actually have to shut down one of our generating units every night when the plant operator goes home because they only use 6 and we produce 7 with all 5 units running.
What's the life expectancy of the gas field that we've got there?
Well, it should peak producing gas somewhere within about 5 years after we quit putting trash in the landfill, so somewhere around 2055, and should continue to produce gas for probably 20 to 40 years after that.
Beyond my life expectancy then?
It's going to be.
I was gonna say, I don't think you'll be on the assembly then.
I doubt it, seriously.
Oh, you probably.
Well, you might be back for another.
I wouldn't say that now.
But no, it's not going to be in my lifetime. Hopefully that helps you all.
Okay, sorry for the diversion.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah.
The next slide, page 3, is looking at the increase in expenses. The first item, by far the largest, natural gas, $2.8 million. There's 2 major factors for that. One, in the budget, we did underestimate the amount of natural gas we're going to purchase, but at the same time, we overestimated the amount of gas we're going to pull from the VRU. The second item is the sales for resale have gone up by $3.1 million, and of course,
Can you repeat that? The what?
the sales for resale.
Oh.
And when we say that, sales for resale are the sale of electricity to other utilities.
Right.
It's not sales to our native load or our local customers. And most of those sales are going up to Fairbanks, Golden Valley, because they have very little natural gas up there. And we can sell it to them for $80 a megawatt hour, and they can't produce it for that price. So the additional sales for resale required more gas. And then also this year in July, we have what's called an ARO, Asset Retirement Obligation, for the VRU, our gas bill. And basically the RCA approved it, and they hadn't approved it when we did the budget last year, but it adds a surcharge on to basically pay for the liability when that field is no longer producing gas. And that will be a good thing because we'll have that money collected. It's been added on to our gas transfer price, which flows into our COPA, quarterly cost of power adjustment.
And our contract for gas buying other than our own is 2019, is that correct?
Yes. 2019 is the last year, like 6-year contract.
And we're out with an RFP at this point, right? Or are you?
Not yet.
Not yet.
The second largest item is the bond interest expense of right at $1.6 million. We were not planning to issue bonds in 2014, but we found out that the interest rates on electric utility bonds were probably at an all-time low. They were below 4%. We closed that transaction in November. The interest expense on that for the 2014 bonds was around $750,000. At the same time, we defeased or early retired the 1996 bonds, which would have expired last year. And we had to record that interest expense this year, and that totals up to like the 1.575.
So these weren't the points for refinancing? These are just...
No, it's additional interest expense. The all-in or true interest cost of that bond issue was 3.83%. I've never, in my almost 30 years of municipal experience, seen electric revenue bonds that low. So
what were we charged for points on that?
Actually, it's sold for a premium. They got about $20 million of premium because basically the underwriter said the market right now is wants a higher interest rate. So the interest rates on those bonds can go up to almost 5%, but when you take into effect the premium, the $20 million of additional cash we got above and beyond the $180 million of debt that we issued, the true interest cost when you factor in that premiums is 3.83%, which is a very good thing for municipality. Now, if the interest rates had popped back up before we did that sell, we might not have sold bonds this year, we might have waited. And then the last thing is transport power, what we call wheeling. And you know, we own 26% of the Bradley, or we get 26% of the power coming from Homer Bradley project, but Chugach increased their wheeling rate from 570 per megawatt hour to 670. That was one of the reasons, but also we've been drawing a lot more power from the Bradley project this year. It's up about 50%, so that would increase the wheeling charges for transmitting that power across the Chugach transmission facilities.
And why were we doing that?
Why did we pull more for Bradley? It's some of the cheapest power we have.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, we've been trying to draw the reservoir down. There's one screen that's got a lot of debris on it, and there's concerns that they needed to get the lake down to a certain level so they could clear that screen. And we're still trying to do that for this spring of 15. It might not happen till 16 now. The concern doesn't seem quite as bad. They've been able to detect there's not quite as much debris over that screen as they first thought. There is a little bit of additional wheeling cost too coming in from Homer Electric. There was a contract or agreement that expired last year, and they've charged about $107,000 this year in wheeling, and that's something that's in front of the RCA and the court on how that's going to end up. And then the last slide shows the pro forma, and originally after the first quarter budget revision when it was cut by 1.6, it came out right at 100 million, and now we're looking at 105, so we're going to be coming to you with a AR for a $5 million supplemental increase. And right behind that is the schedule, which is very similar to the schedule you get quarterly. It shows the breakdown of the first quarter revised, the second column, the 2014 year-to-date pro forma is where we feel very comfortable we're going to come in. And then it shows the percent of the revised budget, and then the last column to the right is the increase or decrease. And if you look down, for the operating revenues, $4.7 million, non-operating, $331,000, you show an increase of a little over $5 million of revenues in that far column on the right. And then the expenses, you can see it looks like we're going to be over a little bit in labor, but pretty close. Actually, travel, we're coming in under budget. And you can see the natural gas purchase being higher, but this gives you kind of a more detailed breakdown, and you will see this eventually when 2014 is all closed out and you get the fourth quarter report.
I was looking at depreciation, so you've taken that out.
Yeah, there's the difference between the budget and the appropriations. And
That's fine. Any questions?
I just have one comment. Very well done. I had about 10 before we started, so I appreciate it. Thank you for the breakdown.
Thank you. We practiced yesterday with their finance and audit committee. Judy gave us a lot of comments.
I have no doubt.
The general manager said keep it short, because they have a tendency to talk too much.
No, but you do use a lot of acronyms, which I get them now, but it's challenging for some of the newer members, so, ERU, I got that one, but when you're talking to an assembly of the whole, I would probably limit the acronyms.
Thank you.
You know exactly what I'm saying. Did you say that yesterday too?
We have a lot. I thought we had a lot in telco when I worked at HU. We have more in electric.
Very few people can talk as fast as me, but I got you.
Any other questions? Okay, so you are going to have something ready for introduction in January?
Yes.
Can I want to ask one question. Judy, is there anything that was covered or not covered that you're concerned about, or anything that should be on our radar that we didn't bring up?
No, I don't think so. We went over this about 4 times yesterday, and we've been watching real close over the last 3 or 4 months, because we were a little bit concerned about cash revenue, but we're feeling a whole lot more comfortable right now.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I mentioned something that I'd heard about the transmission station.
Which?
The transmission station as far as from J-Bear. Do you remember
Fossil
me
Creek.
asking that question? Huh?
Fossil Creek.
Yeah. Did you ever find any information on that? Or?
We are struggling to build Fossil Creek. We're discussing the situation with the people to get their permission for right of way. That's an ongoing, deep, difficult discussion.
And what do you think our resales will be with Golden Valley next year?
More than this year.
The first quarter is probably going to be pretty skinny because they've still got some gas with that contract they got with Chugach Electric. So we've been told the first quarter will drop off. But we didn't really do any sales till about September. And from September to November, it was $4.6 million in sales. We're forecasting about another $2 to $2.2 million in December alone.
And if I could just clarify one comment. On the Fossil Creek, we are setting up a meeting with Includa. I think it will be successful, but as you know, the North Anchorage land agreement does call for us to work it out first. So
Right.
we will be doing that.
Okie dokie.